All right, everybody. Good Thursday evening. Meteorologist Alex Carter with you here for another edition of Weather Aware Live. Thanks for joining us tonight. A little bit of a Q&A, a breakdown of what we're expecting on Saturday. Obviously, snowfall is an increasing likelihood. Some of us might see a decent chunk of it as well. And this is all moving in on Saturday. We're not expecting any snow on Sunday. So one half of the weekend is going to bring the precipitation. The other half, just the bone-chilling cold. And that's what we're going to see in a nutshell here. And I think we'll see some travel issues starting Saturday afternoon potentially and running all the way through Sunday morning with some slight improvements Sunday in the second half of the day. And then we'll start to see some black ice on Monday. So that's kind of a run of what we're expecting over the next little bit. So if you're just joining us, have any questions, ask away. Again, this is what we're here for. We're here to answer your questions and anything that you would like to ask. Again, fire away as we head into the next few minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and show you kind of what we're expecting, breaking down those local impacts here. And I'm going to play this full screen so you can see it better. Again, this starts Saturday morning. And it runs all the way through Sunday morning. 1 to 3 inches of snow going to be possible. And again, early Sunday morning, single-digit wind chills. We have not seen single-digit wind chills in most spots that widespread since Christmas of 2022. If you know what I'm talking about, you know. That was my first Christmas here in the CSRA. And let me tell you, it just packed a punch, man. The winds were gusting up to about 40 to 45 miles an hour. On top of that, you got a blistering wind chill that's feeling like, maybe 7 or 8 degrees. And high-profile vehicles had a hard time staying on the road straight because those winds were coming in at just the right angle on a north wind when you're going east to west on I-20. So when you factor all that in, it just was not a good recipe. So it's going to be that type of cold settling in on Sunday morning. And again, slick roads and impacts to pipes are going to be one of the biggest concerns that we have with this particular weather event. Lisa Duckett. Lisa, good evening. Thanks for asking that. And we're going to get into all that. Lisa and Amy know each other well. Okay, good deal. Good to see that. And we're going to answer all of your questions. Lisa has a question about North Augusta snowfall accumulations. So let's go ahead and get right into it, kind of set the stage, the sample size, if you will. All of the areas under a winter storm watch, and that starts late tomorrow evening around like 10 to 11 o'clock, and it runs all the way through early Sunday morning. Now, again, I do think that we're going to see the last of the snow moving through Saturday night, and it's probably going to end around 11 to 11:30. So that's the last of the snowfall. So this winter storm watch for the National Weather Service in Columbia, they're mentioning snowfall totals up to 2 to 5 inches, and you have to figure out where they're coming from with that. And again, what they're coming from with that is the fact that if you look at the global models here, this is the global, this is not the local, this is the global. Look at these amounts. I mean, these are rather tremendous for, again, the CSRA. I mean, this is almost unheard of, but look at these. And I'm going to go ahead and take myself off so you can see the euro. Euro's obviously the more aggressive, and the euro has been pretty good lately. I will say that. So when you see these totals, again, take it with, I wouldn't take it as much of a grain of salt anymore because we are starting to narrow in. And the models have the overall trend correct. I don't know about the totals necessarily, but they have the trend correct. Bottom line with the totals is areas north of I-20 and on the South Carolina side of the river will have the highest totals from this particular event. The further onto the Georgia side of the river you go, and further south of I-20, the lower the totals you could see. Now, again, this is the Euro and the GFS model, and they're starting to agree more with our in-house model. So everything's in pretty high agreement. There's just a couple tweaks to that I would add. But the overall trend is that we are seeing, again, some decent signals for a solid snow here in the CSRA. So I'm going to go ahead and answer this question. This is from Lisa Duckett. Lisa, you said chances to bust. What are those looking like? I've seen some models with this little area just west of us gets more than what we do and just east of us as well. I love that you're looking at the models. You and Amy are keeping a watchful eye on those. Let's go ahead and show you this real quick. And I'm going to go ahead and pull up a different model. And let me see. I'm going to go ahead and show you the full run of kind of what we're looking at here. So this is our high-resolution model. And this data is This is the high-res model that we have in-house. So that's our in-house model, which is painting some pretty aggressive totals, mind you. Let's go ahead and show you the extended HRRR run, which I do want to show you real quick. Now, notice this. It's going to run through about 1 o'clock, and I'm going to go ahead and turn on the contour for this. Let's go ahead and show you. Okay. So now you're going to get a better read of this situation. So this is what Lisa is referring to, Lisa Duckett, where, look at that. Ooh, and that's the latest. So this is the latest HRRR run here that's coming out at 0Z. And so that is the latest HRRR model run, by the way. And that's showing you a pretty decent snowpack across our region. Again, it's going to be spotty on the HRRR runs. It's not going to be as consistent as what you see on your in-house run, but you see there, 1 to 3 inches, the general family that's standing by it. Some isolated pockets could get less than others. And Lisa, what you're referring to is a dry slot. The west side of this system is a lot of dry air. We're talking dew points at around 0 to 5. And the dry slot is going to be nudging into this system, but does it get into the middle of it? If it does, that's going to evaporate some of that snowfall, and those snowfall rates could go down, and as a result, we don't see as much. So 1 to 3 inches right now is the expected range for us, about 1 to 3. But again, if that dry slot moves in, then we might not see as much, but we are expecting a snow. It's just a matter of how much and do the little microscopic factors start to filter into this. And so the dry slot could be something that we look into. So, Lisa, I hope that answers your question a little bit better if you're still watching us. And James, yep, pretty confident in snowfall at this point. And looking at some of your questions now. Let's see. Rachel, I do believe it's going to snow in Graniteville, South Carolina. Mary, how long will it hang around? I think temperatures are going to stay below freezing through Sunday morning. So I do think it will stick around through at least Sunday at about lunchtime. And then the sunny skies, the mid to upper 30s, we are going to get probably some melting on Sunday afternoon. And that's kind of what we're looking at there. So good question here. This is a really good one. This is from John T. Wynn. This is in the weeds, everybody. Okay, this is in the weeds a little bit. So, John, thank you for asking that. Will the snow totals be higher if the snow liquid ratio, SLR, is greater? So SLR, we talk about this a lot. You know, SLR values pretty lower here in the Deep South most of the time, but the snow liquid ratio is almost 15 to 1 to 20 to 1 in this scenario. So all that means is snow, think of it like a snow cone and cotton candy. Snow cone's got a little bit of moisture to it, right? So it's a little bit more, it's easier to pack in. Cotton candy, it's going to frizz a little bit more, and that's kind of how this is going to work. So the snow liquid ratio being so high, it's a dry, fluffy snow that we're going to be getting, so it will start to pile up higher. So that could add to some higher totals to answer your question. Also of note, it delays the road concerns a little bit later down the line since it's such a light, fluffy snow that's going to pile up here. So this is not going to be the wet slush that turns into a film of ice very quick. It's going to be a little bit different than that. And so that will help the roads a little bit, but we're still expecting some travel hazards out there. Let's see. Good question, Tony. He's asking if we are pro or no pro on snow ice cream. I'll be honest with you, Tony. As a weather enthusiast and a meteorologist, I've not had snow ice cream, believe it or not. Now, don't bash me for that. I did spend time in Florida, South Alabama, and North Alabama. It's not a snow's paradise. But, yeah, I need to try that. So maybe that's something we can make here at the station while we're covering this. Maybe that's it, Tony. Let's see. Joseph Birch, yes, very similar. With these coastal lows, again, you can get that intense burst in a couple locations. So some areas will get higher amounts than others. So to answer your question, yes, I think some heavier localized snow bands will be possible generally outside of that 1 to 3 inch trend, particularly on the South Carolina side and north of I-20. So let's get back to kind of what we're showing you. This is the latest HRRR model that we're showing you here, these accumulations. I'm going to take that full for a second. And again, you see the 1 to 3 inch trend. Our in-house model really wants to blow this up, though. So this is not our in-house, for the record. And this is just at Saturday at 8 o'clock. This isn't even showing you the next few hours past that. So just goes to show you, again, we are expecting potentially a decent amount of snow here. So here's our look at the snow forecast. And I'm going to go ahead and pop myself up here in the bottom left. This is our look at it, okay? So I do think, that the Euro is going a little bit aggressive on this solution. I think that some dry air could be able to move into this. I think 1 to 3 inches is where we're going to be sitting in that family for snowfall. Now, again, you look at this, and here's what we're looking at. I think the further towards South Carolina you are, the higher the chance of 2 inches and above. The further north of I-20 you are, I think the higher chance of 2 inches and above. But if you're on the Georgia side of the river, south of I-20, we could be anywhere from just maybe a half an inch to 2 inches. So that's kind of where we stand on that front as of this hour. So again, I think that the highest totals will be Wagner, Sally, Johnston, Trenton, Edgefield, McCormick, Pleasant Lane, up near Mount Carmel, and points towards Columbia and points towards the Midlands and the upstate. I think that's where the highest of this is going to sit. But for Hepzibah, Waynesboro, Gibson, Thompson, Augusta, North Augusta, Evans, Martinez, Grovetown. If you just heard your place, I think that we'll still see a decent snow. This looks to be, right now, it's a very tough forecast as to how much we could see. It's a game of miles. I mean, we are not talking much at all between a lot and a little in our region. If you look at just the line between what could be 3 inches plus and 1 inch of snow, I mean, we're looking at 40 miles. That's a very tough forecast to hammer down. So the bottom line is right now, and I think we'll get a lot more clarity on this as we move into the next several hours, it's going to snow. It's just a matter of how much now. So, if you're looking for the snow and for it to actually accumulate, I think we can check the box on that. And I would say 80% to maybe even 90% of the entire area. I think that's very likely. It's just a matter of how much now. Is it just going to be a very weak 1 inch snow, or is it going to be, some isolated drifts get up to 4 to 5 inches of snow? That's kind of where we're at, and that's kind of where we're going to be situating ourselves in this discussion the entire time, because the confidence for a major snow event in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach, it is extremely high, and the further north you go, the higher it gets, and a foot of snow is likely in parts of North Carolina. So it just goes to show you the scope of this event and kind of how it all shakes out. Let's see, Tori, that's a good question. I like the practicality, and talking about how this is going to impact your day. So cheer competition in Atlanta on Saturday, safe to drive there and back on Saturday. That's going to be dicey. I think going there is no problem. Atlanta's on the very fringe of this snow, as you'll see in the snow map. Which I'll pop up for us real quick. So you see Atlanta in the snow map, right on the fringe line of accumulations. So I think in Atlanta it's fine. I think that maybe it's worth, if you're going to be in Atlanta late on Saturday, I don't think it's going to be a good idea to drive back into it, because you have a long stretch of road. Now, again, most of that's going to be on I-20, right? So I-20 is going to get brined. GDOT is brining I-20 and the spots that are going to be impacted with snow. So that's promising. But you'd have to really be careful, and I think the roadways are going to get very slick starting Saturday night when you would be headed home. So it would be hazardous travel on the way back, not so much going there. I hope that helps. It might be worth looking into maybe staying in Atlanta for the night, coming back on Sunday and the afternoon once things start to melt a little bit more. Just something to consider. So I hope that helps answer your question, Tori. Let's see. Lisa, I do foresee winter storm warnings being issued. I do foresee that, especially for our South Carolina counties, and we'll see about the Georgia counties, but I think the entire area has that chance. Shannon, good question. Driving around Augusta, should it be fine without ice for those of us that have to work? So the snow that accumulates, it is going to stick to the roads at some point. It's just a matter of when, Shannon. I do think that in the morning, this is not going to stick to the road too much. Here's the catch, right? temperatures will start to cool down throughout the day. It's called evaporative cooling. So the air around the snowfall becomes colder because of the snow around it. And as a result, it's going to cool the air particles or air parcels around it. And so what's going to happen is eventually the road temperatures will fall to freezing, and anything that falls will stick to the roads. It's just a matter of when that would happen. And I think accumulations on the roads will start more so in the afternoon and evening. I'm not sure when you're working, but if you're working Sunday morning, it's going to be an icy drive to work more than likely in many spots. And Sunday or Saturday night, I think we could have some slick spots really developing as well. So I hope that really helps there and answers your question. Emily, depends on the time of the baby shower. I would say, if we start to see a good melt on Sunday afternoon, the melt's going to be limited because we're only going to reach about 38 degrees in the afternoon, and it's only going to be for a short window of time. So the catch to this whole deal is if we see some good melting with the sun out, because we know the sun will be out on Sunday, that's going to help us out too. And I think if the snow does melt, then we could see some improving road conditions, drastically so, by Sunday afternoon. Kayla, I hope that just answered your question. Sunday afternoon, the roads will improve, but whatever doesn't melt is going to freeze on contact once temperatures go down below freezing on Sunday night. So then Monday morning, we'll have some patchy black ice concerns, but I think the melting will happen on Sunday afternoon primarily with this. So let's get back into some of this. Again, here's the winter weather timeline. So if you want to see how this all shakes out in the order of events, I've kind of broken that down here. Saturday morning, snow begins. Saturday afternoon, snow continues. Sunday morning, snow ends, but we got very cold temperatures. And then Sunday evening, Sunday afternoon, the melting starts, and then whatever doesn't melt past that is going to turn into black ice for Monday morning. So that's kind of a breakdown of the sequence of events for this particular setup and kind of how it's all going to shake out. And I'm about to show you Futurecast here. Let's go to Futurecast. And this is tomorrow night at about 9 o'clock. Now, the clouds could inhibit some of this cooling, but the catch is this time around, we're not relying on clear skies to cool down. We're relying on a cold front. That cold front is a surefire bet to be passing down to the south in the overnight hours and early Saturday morning. So this is Saturday at 2:47. Notice temperatures below freezing north of I-20. Notice what happens. As soon as temperatures drop, there's that wraparound moisture from this big low pressure on the coast, and that's what's going to be around us pretty much all day long. So we're looking at a time frame of about sunrise for the snow to start in our northern counties, and then it's going to continue to inch further south as we head through the late morning and early afternoon hours. And notice how temperatures will get cooler through the day. On top of cold air moving in from the north, the evaporative cooling happens. So it's going to be cold. It's going to be very cold, and it's going to be snowing, and whatever does fall will slowly but surely stick. And I think the surfaces are going to start to stick quicker than the roadways. The road temperatures are in the 40s, so once you start to see the road temperatures cooling down, which will be later in the afternoon, that's when roads will become hazardous because a lot of this is going to try to stick Saturday afternoon into Saturday evening. And then Saturday night, that's when we start to see the travel hazards coming in. Snow's going to continue. It could be about 12 hours in your area that you see snow at the most. I think 12 hours is the window. So anywhere from 7 a.m. or about 8 a.m. in the morning all the way to 11 p.m. at night. That's going to be the time frame for snowfall. Watch what happens. We get to Sunday or Saturday night, skies clear, and look at this. I mean, this is the wind chill that you don't want to see, but it comes around every so often, and it's rearing its ugly head again. Sunday morning, Monday morning, 4 to 12 degrees. That's not pleasant, y'all. And that's the kind of cold that if you're out there for an extended period of time, you're susceptible to frostbite, not taking care of yourself. You can get in those bad health conditions. Make sure to limit your time outside Sunday morning. Playing in the snow, of course, just dress in layers and you'll be good to go. But you need to limit your time outside when we see wind chills in the single digits. It's just not healthy for anybody around here, especially. In Alaska, they're more used to it. They're built for it. Here, we're not built for stuff like that. And up in the Rocky Mountain West, too. And the Midwest, for that matter. Monday morning, 10 to 15 degrees, what it's going to feel like across much of the area. It is going to be some very cold starts, and impacts to pipes are possible both mornings. So make sure to take those precautions ahead of time, because we have already gotten several messages about people's pipes bursting. And, in this cold, it happens. It really does, especially mornings like Sunday and Monday. So, again, just insulate those pipes, put the faucets on a drip, whatever you got to do, but just make sure to take those precautions as we go ahead of time. So Amy is asking about Belvedere, North Augusta. I'm going right around that 2-inch ballpark right now, Amy, and that's the conservative play. I do think there will be some dry slots that limit the overall boom of this system that are not being shown right now. I think a dry slot is possible. I think the range of 1 to 3 inches is very realistic, and I think you're right somewhere in the middle, closer to about 2 inches in North Augusta, Amy. Ursula, let's hope so. You warm weather fans out there, our last cold blast before spring, it might be, Ursula. Hopefully it is. The jet stream pattern is going to have to lift out, and I think that's going to happen closer to the second week of February, which is good for us. We need a warm-up. Amelia, I would say yes. The snow is going to be off and on for 12 hours. And, again, it's not going to be all heavy, but I think those snowfall rates will be higher at times, and then you'll run into some lighter pockets, and it's going to interchange back and forth. It's not going to be a heavy snow the entire way, but I think you will see plenty of those heavier bursts at times. Ursula, I think if Lincoln County is going to see snow, I think 3 inches is, or if we're going to see, the better way to phrase it would be, if we're going to see about 3 inches or above of snow, I think Lincoln County is one of those candidates. So, again, if you're looking for snow, be cautiously optimistic. You could see some of the higher totals in our area. Alex Steller, good question. Are there any thoughts as far into Monday next week seeing ice forming on the roads? I think black ice in the morning is a concern. Highs will be in the mid to upper 40s Monday afternoon under sunshine. And so with that, we'll get rid of any leftovers. So that's a good point to make. Thomas and Ellen, I think you were on the higher end of those snowfall totals up in Johnston, South Carolina. And let me show you some of these. We're going to go, and I'm going to show you the wind chill values first. Look at that. I mean, this is Sunday morning and Monday morning, right around, single-degree wind chills. And when it comes to potential snow accumulations, again, think of these ranges, the left number, the low number, as the more realistic scenario, and then the high-end number is the one on the right. So, again, think of your range in that type of family. But I think North Augusta seeing about 2 inches is very realistic. The latest in-house model continuing to blow things up there, and this is the HRRR model, which goes all the way out until Sunday or Saturday night at 8. And you look at some of these totals, right? This is why we're trying to get you not caught up as much in the totals for your exact location based on range. We're trying to give you that broad range and say, okay, anywhere from 1 to 3 inches is very possible in our area. Generally, the trend is the further north and east we go, the better it gets when it comes, if you like snowfall. The worse it gets if you're not a fan of it, because Columbia has a serious chance of seeing about 4 to 6 inches of snow with this event. Let's see here. So, I'm going to go ahead and go over Futurecast, and we're about to get that latest model data, so we're going to hold on here for a little bit and while we're answering questions, and we're waiting on that latest model data to come in, because that comes in right at about, say, about 9:15 most of the time, and so we'll probably be getting that here very shortly, and I'm excited to see what it has for the CSRA, but I'm going to go ahead and change the model up for a minute. You just saw the HRRR, which I think, really accurately describes how we're going with this, which is a range of 1 to 3 inches. But you'll notice the Euro model and the graph model are really getting along here and showing you a trend with this. Let's go ahead and take this all the way out to Sunday at 2. And you see some of those totals. I'm going to put the actual contour on it. And look at that. Yeah, I mean, this is our in-house, okay? This is our in-house model, and this is why we were telling you isolated pockets up to 4 to 5 inches can't be rolled out with this event. 1 to 3 is the general trend, but again, we could see some isolated higher amounts, especially in the drifts where this is blowing into one area where the terrain sets up where you can get an isolated amount that's very high. So that's what we're looking at there. And if this comes to fruition, I mean, this is a winter wonderland that all the kids have been dreaming of. So optimistically, hopefully that would be the case if you're a snow lover. If not, I think 1 to 3 inches is the more realistic outcome right now because of dry slots that will be trying to move into these systems. But overall, again, can't complain with the results of some of these from some of these model trends, which continues to show a pretty fair amount in our area. Now, again, I think a dry slot is possible, and I think that the amounts that you're seeing here on your in-house have not picked up on that just yet. I'll put it like that. Because in this scenario, what a burst of snow that would be. But again, we'll wait and see on that. But the bottom line is I would prepare as if you're going to be snowed in starting Saturday afternoon. Even though the snow begins Saturday morning, I don't think this is going to be as much of a Saturday morning ordeal as it is going to be later, especially for your Saturday evening plans and your Sunday or morning plans. That's the window where travel really starts to go downhill. And it'll start to pick up on Sunday afternoon too. Or Saturday afternoon. So, again, I think the biggest impacts look to be going downhill Saturday afternoon, running all the way through Sunday morning. Sunday afternoon, we start to get some improvements with the sunshine in the upper 30s. So that's kind of the latest of what we're thinking right now. And, again, this snow really starts to pick up in the mid to late morning hours on Saturday. So we're literally not far away from this whatsoever, and answering those questions as well, keeping a lookout on some of these. Calling it back, Ursula, taking it back. Yeah, a bunch. You got a bunch on February of 1973, and again, record-breaking snow. I definitely think that we could be at least one of the more notable snows in recent memory. I can tell you that. I think it has that potential. It's just a matter of the dry slots moving in. But the dry slots are my concern as of the latest data that we have this afternoon. I'm starting to see maybe some finer details that are coming in on the backside of that low. If the dry slot moves in, that could limit some of these totals. And so we're going to see about that. But I think what you're seeing here on our in-house, this is our in-house. That's extreme, y'all. I mean, that's extreme. I just think that's a little much. If I'm being honest, I think 1 to 3 is a much more realistic outcome for this particular event. And so if you're looking at that thinking, okay, it's going to be doomsday, I wouldn't say that just yet, okay? I wouldn't say that. But I do think travel is going to be disrupted starting Saturday afternoon, running through Sunday morning, and some slick spots Sunday afternoon and Sunday evening are possible despite some of the melting. And Monday morning, we could have some black ice too. Let's see. Rachel, a good question about the Barnyard Flea Market in Augusta on Sunday. It depends on what time of day. I think we're going to see roads slowly improving in the afternoon, but if you're going in the morning, I don't advise that because I do think the roads will be slick, especially if we get 1 to 3 inches of snow. I definitely think they could be slick. But the roads, again, in a snow like this, it's not as bad on the roads. I will say that. It's not as bad. But travel issues are expected. So, again, just make sure to be careful out there if you absolutely have to get out on the roads. I'm not saying you're going to be snowed in for 3 days. It doesn't look like that. But I think we'll get a solid coating on the grass. I definitely think that that's possible. And then all this gets out of the way. Once we get to Sunday afternoon and evening, the patchy black ice will slowly erode, and then from there, next week, any precipitation chances look more so like liquid that go around late next week. So let's see here, and just tuning back in on multiple pages, making sure that we've got everybody. And again, this forecast is going to be adjusted, by the way. I think y'all know that by now. Y'all know how this works. And y'all have most definitely known the picture of how this gets updated. The wedge is not a factor this time around. Ari, good question. Is this similar to the snow day we had last January? Depends on which one you're talking about, because some of us got the better end of the stick on one of those and the other on the other. But I think this one has, I'll put it this way, it has potential to be better than both of those last January. It has potential, but will it live up to it? That's the whole other ball game, and it's about a dry slot that's going to have to form. And if a dry slot forms, then the snow totals will be limited. Noah Hudson, great question. What are the ratios you are going with? I wouldn't be surprised to see 15-1 in the afternoon. I think 15-1 is very realistic for the CSRA. I think just an hour or two east in the Midlands and the upstate, 20-1 is realistic, believe it or not, Noah. And once you get to that point, again, the accumulations can really pile up. 15-1 is already impressive enough for our area. So, again, I do think that we're looking at a 1 to 3 inch snowfall event. Dry slots could make some isolated lower amounts, but we could also have no dry slots, and there could be isolated higher amounts. So depending on where you are, you're going to get a really good snow, and some of us maybe not so much. But the general trend is, if you follow the trend, the further north and east you go, the higher the odds, the better the odds. So if you're on the South Carolina side of the river and north of I-20, these are the spots that we're looking at and thinking, okay, that could be a really noticeable snow, and it could just be enough to coat the grass in some spots in our southern counties. Or if there's no dry slots, this could be a boom event for a lot of us. Again, there's caveats, and there's very fine features in the forecast that makes it so difficult sometimes. And so we appreciate y'all bearing with us, trusting us, and kind of looking over the data with us and thinking about kind of the different scenarios that we should see. Let's see. And I'm going to go ahead and get a check and see if our latest data has come in. It should be any moment now, and I think it has. So looks like it has here. And perhaps let's go ahead and show you this. And yep, latest data has come in, and that's the latest there. So the graph is very bullish. I mean, this is our in-house model. If you're wondering what GRAF stands for, it's our in-house model. So, it's the weather companies look at that, and it's done great with a lot of events in the past. Winter weather events, it actually did insanely well with the ice. It did very well with the ice threat. So take that for what you will. It put a lot of that along Highway 378 for the ice. Where did we have it? Right along Highway 378. Again, the warm nose, it picked up well on the warm nose. So it's doing its thing, and it's being very confident that we're going to get a good snow here in our area. And again, this also supports our theory, which is 1 to 3 inches area-wide with isolated amounts up to 4 to 5 inches. And look at where those higher totals could be. North of I-20, South Carolina side of the river. Just goes to show you what we're looking at. So this is the latest fresh data as of 9:15 tonight when this came out. So if you're looking at this, again, the graph model wants to be hopeful. Our forecast, we're going a little bit more conservative, but again, I don't want you to, if you're trying to prep for this event, I don't want you to overbuy, I don't want you to underbuy. I said that last time for the ice storm. I don't want you to prepare if it's 2014 all over again, because we repeatedly said it's not going to be 2014 last weekend. And we also don't want you to buy all the bread off the shelf. I've seen people talking about that all day long. And no, I don't have stock in Kroger. I think people have been asking me that more than I've ever been asked in my career. I don't have stock in Kroger. I don't have stock in any Sara Lee rolls or Purity or whatever those brands are. So I don't have stock in those. We're just trying to give you the most accurate forecast, if you will. And these are those potential snowfall accumulations. The general trend is the further north you go, the higher the chance of some snow. And the further east you go, the higher the chance of snow. So if you're in Louisville, Swainsboro, Gibson, you might not luck out as much, but you're going to be right on that fringe line. So it's a game of miles. And notice how Atlanta and Macon get hardly nothing in our latest forecast look. and then we all get a lot of something, and Columbia really gets something. We're talking up to 6 inches there in the Columbia Metro. You want to talk about an I-20 nightmare, that would be it. That would definitely be it. So switching over Facebook pages for just a second, keeping track of all of our comments and live stream looks. And there we go. Andrea, yep, thank you, Andrea. Appreciate that. And just continuing to look at some of these comments here. And if you have any questions, please just let us know. Go ahead. Yep, there we go. Yeah, Ursula, this is totally different from an ice storm. This is, notice how we haven't mentioned down trees, power outages, and all that. Definitely, ice is the worry one. This is the, we talk about it in 80-degree days in the spring where there's no rain around. It's called worry-free warmth. This is worry-free winter right here. Now, again, the roads are going to be slick, so you definitely want to use your common sense and make sure not to travel that much this weekend because you don't want to be slipping and sliding, getting a fender bender, all that junk, and then you have to deal with it going into the week once the winter weather's all melted away. So, again, take that for what you will. This is a good, cozy weekend. Watch the snow, have some fun with the kids in the snow, and, again, just kind of enjoy it, enjoy the moment because we don't get this too often. So even if it's just 1 to 3 inches of those isolated higher amounts, it's still going to be fun. And if you get one of those higher amounts, you really went out on the snowfall lottery here. The only thing that I'm watching is a few dry slots that could develop. And if they do, then we're talking some trouble. But if you're looking for a timeline of how this all shakes out, everybody's been asking kind of how this will all play out. Here's a good roadmap for that. Breaks it down by mornings and afternoons for both days this weekend. So you can kind of see everything that you're wanting to kind of look for. And if you're looking at that, Saturday morning is when flakes begin to fall, but the impacts will be felt more so in the afternoon. And in Sunday morning, wind chills will be near 5 degrees. The roads will be slick, and we'll have gusts up to 30 miles an hour in the morning, and then those will start to calm down in the afternoon. But Saturday afternoon through Sunday morning, that looks to be the period of time where travel is going to be most hazardous. And remember, that's a stretch of about 18 hours. So, not trying to scare anybody. If you're worried about this winter weather, again, 18 hours where conditions could go downhill. Excuse me, could go downhill. That's about it. So hopefully this answers your questions. Again, we're going to look over a few more of these. We just got some of that latest data. And I think there could be some black ice. Check back for the forecast because you're talking about an appointment in Columbia. Check back in the forecast there, and we'll let you know more about that because we'll be watching this a lot in real time. It's one thing to call for 1 to 3 inches of snow, but how it impacts the metros, the melting rate, and all that. Those are things that we really determine a lot more in real time. Scott, thank you for that. I appreciate your kind words, and hopefully she will be able to build a snowman. You would want more of a wet snow, a slushier snow for that snowman, not as much of the dry stuff, because think of it like cotton candy. The moment you touch it, it's warm, it dissolves. With a snow cone, which has got a little bit more moisture to it, kind of sticks around easier. So think of it like that with this type of snow. Tony, I do want to go all foodie on it. Okay, there we go. Yeah, that sounds like a good recipe, man. Thank you for sharing that. So I appreciate it. Let's see. Amelia, yeah, making a snowman with a powdery snow, maybe not the ideal conditions, but it's possible. You can still try your best attempt at it, especially if there's enough of the snow. Then you're talking. So overall, again, other than just some slick roads, this is not a significant weather event when it comes to, significant hazards. The only thing that you want to do is just the common sense measures. Like if you look outside and you see the roads have collected some ice on them from the snowfall, just make sure to avoid it. Not worth getting into any fender benders or running into something over just a little bit of snow and fun. And on top of that, we've also got the cold temperatures Sunday and Monday mornings that you want to limit your exposure to until things start to warm up a little bit. Best time to enjoy the snow as it's happening, Sunday afternoons or Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, and then early Sunday morning. Got to be really careful. You can enjoy it, but just make sure to get inside, take some breaks, get warm, because that cold is coming in big time. This will be our coldest temperatures, I think, since December of 2022. I think that's what it's looking like when it comes to the wind chill factor. Yeah, please send in those viewer photos to enews@wfxg.com. We would love to get those and share them on our newscast, of course. So, again, thank you guys for joining us tonight. We're pretty much about done with Weather Aware Live. We're going to post all this data that we just shared on a actual weather update coming up in just a few minutes. We'll type that up, get it put out so you can share that and get that info across. But here's the latest live update from Fox 54 here in the Digital Weather Center. So thank you guys so much for your time. Glad we got to answer some of those questions. Again, the forecast, we'll probably make a few tweaks to it, but a lot of things are locked in right now, and it's looking pretty good that we could see some snow here in the CSRA. Everybody stay safe. Have a great night. We have much more coming up as well on Fox 54 News at 10 and 11, and we hope you join us then.